Hey everyone, my name is Kaylani Jones, and today I'm going to be teaching you the critical elements of running, and this is what I'm choosing for my skill set. So I would like to mention that running is one of those things that we eventually will pick up over time. So as we know, a baby will start out by crawling, then they'll start off by walking, and then it usually goes to skipping, and then eventually they'll take that skipping and use that and end up running. And that's just because over time, the children obviously grow and they'll progressively want to, get introduced into different things. And so that's why, they want to move faster and all those things. So they take skipping and they turn it into running. Another thing that I would like to mention is that running over time also progressively gets better. So kind of what this means is that as the children are younger, they tend to run a little bit different and the not proper way. So a great example of that is that sometimes kids will have a much wider running stance than adults, and this is because it's trying to help the kid maintain some sort of balance, because your balance obviously gets better as you grow. And so that is a reason why as the youth and children, they do not have proper running form. Another thing that is important to mention, like I said previously, is that the running form is not proper. So something that happens with this is that kids usually end up, thinking that that is the proper way to run, and they will continue to use the improper way to run, and this will cause permanent motor patterns that will, obstruct the actual way that it is supposed to be performed and supposed to be done, and this could ultimately cause injury later on in life. Correct skill performance can also be established in the earlier years or the youth, and that is with proper instruction. And it is also important to mention that that with the national standards and grade level outcome for K through 12th physical education, it also says that mastery of running can also be developed, and it should not occur until the second grade. And it also mentions that in kindergarten, a child should be able to run while maintaining balance. Running comes in 3 different forms. It comes in jogging, running, and sprinting. A second grader should be able to distinguish the difference between jogging and sprinting. And then also a third grader should be able to differentiate the difference between sprinting and running. Running is also one of the most important exercises, as it has the ability to help build strong bones, as well as it is a weight-bearing exercise. It helps strengthen muscles and also helps improve cardiovascular fitness. Running helps with your legs, quads, hamstrings, calves, and your hips, also your glutes. Your inner thigh, abs, shoulders, help, but as well as the large muscles in your hips and your legs do most of the work for you while you are running. I would also like to mention that other benefits of running include blood pressure, bettering your blood pressure, immune system, weight loss, physical strength, bone density, joint strengthening and stability, as well as confidence, and it could be a source of stress relief. Okay, so now I'm going to perform running for you, and these are the critical elements of running. So the first part you want to start off with is your eyes and your body. You want to make sure that your eyes are looking in the direction you want to travel, and you want to make sure that your body moves in an upright position, and also there could be a slight lean forward, and you want to make sure that your toes are pointed forward. So it would look something like this. So my legs are together, they're a little bit staggered, and then I'm looking towards the direction I want to run, and it would look something like that. And then the next part is the flight position, which is also the action. And this, you want to make sure that both feet are temporarily off the ground, and you want to make sure that your body is in a stride position. And you also want to make sure that your foot lands heel to toe. So heel to toe. So you want to make sure that you're not running from toe to heel, because that could potentially also cause a little bit of damage later on with your knees and also other joints in your body. So you want to make sure that you look like this, and you want to make sure that both your feet reach off the ground. So the next critical element would be your arms, and this you want to make sure that your arms are bent about a 90-degree angle, and you want to move in a forwards and backwards motion, and you want to make sure that it does not cross the center line of your body. So like I was saying before, a lot of kids when they're younger, they'll run like this, and that is not the proper way. And kind of how I said also before is that sometimes with kids running improper, they'll continue to doing it, and then, you know, it could prevent them from, you know, getting their fullest or the maximum speed that they can get. So you want to make sure that your arms are bent like this, and you want to make sure that they are not crossing in front of you. You want to make sure that they are just going like this. Along with this is the knees. You want to make sure that your knees are bent, and you want to make sure that you bring the heel behind you up and parallel to the ground. So running basically really just looks like this. And so that's how you would run. I'm not gonna run a lot because I have downstairs neighbors. So it would look something like this. So now that I have taught you the critical elements of running, I next want to talk about the cue words. So one of them is eyes forward. And this means that you want to make sure that your eyes are looking in the direction you want to travel, how I said in the first step. The next part and the next cue word would be pump arms and arms bent. Arms are one of the most important things that will give you the most momentum and speed while you are running. And this means that your arms are bent in a 90-degree angle, and your body moves forward and backwards, or your arms move forward and backwards without crossing the middle line of your body, like I said before. So it would be this way and not, you know, like that. And then also big stride is another cue word. Big stride means that your legs extend further than they would in a walking step. And also there's temporary flight phase. The flight phase basically just means that both your feet are off the ground, like how I said previously. And then another cue word, the last one, would be feet straight. Feet straight just means that your feet are parallel throughout the running motion. I would also like to mention that with big stride, it is important to know that they call it a big stride because you're able to cover more ground while you are running, and that is a quicker, easier way to cover more ground if you're taking bigger strides than you would while walking. So the next thing I did want to talk about was troubleshooting. And so this just means that if there's a flaw in a specific area, this is a way that you can help fix it and critique it so that it is the correct form of running. So the first one I wanted to start off with was if you see no lean in the body, then the athlete or whoever, even if it's yourself, could try this. They could try to use a mirror or a flashlight, reflection or shadow, to let the student or whoever see their body position. I really like this one because, you know, sometimes it's hard. You can't really like see yourself and see like exactly what you look like. So being able to see your reflection or being able to see, you know, firsthand with a mirror on exactly what you're doing wrong, that's probably like one of the easiest ways that you could, you know, fix it, because you see you're doing it firsthand yourself, so that you could just fix it. So the next troubleshoot I wanted to talk about was if you see no flight phase, then you could try this, which is encourage the student to run faster at a faster speed. To go along with the last troubleshoot, I would also like to say that another way that you could help the student or whoever it is by recording the student performing this skill, and then you can show the student what the recording looks like. That's just another way so that they are able to see exactly what they look like while they're trying to perform, and that you could also use a start and stop to, you know, just watch the action that they're doing. The next troubleshoot is if you see no flight phase. For this, you want to then try encouraging the student to run at a faster speed. I feel like this would just help the student, you know, just try to catch more air because they are going like a lot quicker, and I feel like your body is very easy to adjust to things. So I feel like if you're moving at a slower speed, I feel like you definitely not be able to, you know, really necessarily catch that flight phase. Another thing that you could do is place footprints or tapes or tape along in a straight path line. So kind of from point A to B, you could either like you could even use sticks, you could use rocks, you could use, you know, whatever you want. And you want to do point A, and then 40 feet from point A would be point B, and then there you would just put footprints, and then that's where the student would step. And you want to make sure that it is far enough that the student is comfortable with their stride length. So that means just don't be putting the footprints too far apart where it's not comfortable for the student to stride and really, you know, work on that stride. And then also, as a student increases the stride strength and speed, period of flight will result. So kind of like what I was saying, this is a troubleshoot for if you see no flight phase. The next troubleshoot is if you see your arm or the arms across the midline of the body or swinging with a run. Because like I was saying before, the most important thing of the run, I feel like probably is like the motion of your arms. So if you see that, then you would like to try having the student work with a partner, and then the partner would stand about 30 feet in front of the student. Partner work is probably like one of the best things that you could do because that person could critique the other student. And so I feel like that would be very beneficial as well. And then you want to make sure that the footprints, and so you want the student to walk as fast as they can towards the partner, and then demonstrating the arm swing. So it's not necessarily running, but you are just kind of fundamentally just working on you pumping your arms. And so as a student increases the stride, wrong part. And so the partner tells the student whether the arm swings are correctly and let the student know if they cross the center of the body, the midline of the body. And if they do, then the student practicing would just start over until they can correctly, you know, not swing their arms across the body. And so another thing with this is that you could also record, kind of like how we said for the last one, and you know, that would be another way for the student to see exactly what they're doing wrong and when they are performing the task wrong, which is, you know, keeping your arms this way and not crossing in front of the body. And the next troubleshoot would be if you see the student foot not coming up behind them or behind the body. Something that you could do for this is have the student run in place or do butt kickers. Butt kickers is a warm-up that we use in multiple sports, and so this is not necessarily running, but it's more of like literally what it says is just kicking your butt with the back of your foot. Another thing that you could do is another partner work, which like I said, partner work is really good. And so the partner would watch the student run 30 feet, once again 30 feet, just like the last troubleshoot, and then they would count the number of times that the student does not come or the foot come near their buttocks, and then they would score a 0, and then they would keep practicing and practicing until they had like a perfect 10. And finally, for the last part of my skill set, I would like to explain a game that I have created. Well, not necessarily created, but I think would be very great for someone who is learning running or who would like to improve their running. So it is similar to like a game of tag, or I would say it's a game of tag plus like capture the flag. I think capture the flag is probably like one of the most like fun, but yet very, you could learn a lot from playing capture the flag, and if you're running, obviously. So it would be set up like capture the flag, so you would need cones, but there would be 2 rulers of each side. So for example, let's say that there was a red side and a blue side. So there would be a captain of the red side and there would be a captain of the blue side, and so they would take turn rolling the dice. And so then after they roll two of a kind, so for example 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, they would turn over a card, and that is the type of speed that their team would have to use. So like I said before, there is jogging, there's sprinting, and then there's running. So for this, until the next person is able to roll 2 of a kind, so for example, if the red team were to roll two 4s, for example, so that captain would flip over a card, and for example, if it was sprinting, they would have until the blue team does or rolls 2 of a kind. And so then after that, then they would take turns going back and forth. And so that's kind of how that game would work. But as far as the equipment goes, you would need cones, you would need multiple members, and you also would need dice, and you would need cards with on the cards would have sprinting, jogging, and then running. So those are the equipment and kind of like the rules of what the game is. And the objective of the game would be to learn different running techniques, as well as kind of like learn and determine exactly what each one means. And so I think something that would also be very beneficial to this that I did not talk about, I think that there should be able to be a judge. And so I feel like this judge would be able to like point out exactly what player, you know, is not doing the correct form or not doing the correct speed, because there is a speed difference between running, jogging, and sprinting. So I feel like that would be very beneficial if there was a ref or even multiple refs. And so going kind of back to the rules, so after, you know, like your team captain decides on what type of running you are going to perform, your team is going to perform, you would then try to go to the opposing side and try to capture the flag. That is another thing that you do have to have. So another piece of equipment that you do have to have is a flag. And so you want to go to the opposing side and try to capture that flag. And so then you would want to bring it over to your side and vice versa. So if the red team would want to try to capture the blue team's flag, and obviously like vice versa. So that is another rule that goes along with the game. So one extension that I believe that my game will have, or that I know my game should have, is that the player is safe if they could, off the top of their head, tell the tagger, because like, as you know, capture the flag is one of those things, like I was saying, tag. So if you go over to the red team and then they're able to capture you before you're able to bring over the flag, you would be able to tell the tagger a keyword of the skill or the form of running that you are doing, and then if you're able to yell that out before they even get a chance to tag you, then you are safe until the next person comes. So another extension that I will add to the game is that if the judge tells less than 4 people exactly if they're doing something wrong, or you know, if their hands are crossing their body. So if the judge goes less than 4 times pointing out 4 different students, or it could even be the same person, that team is able to have a pick card. And so the pick card would be able to have the students be able to pick their own form of running for that round. And finally, my last extension for the game would be if the student was to get tagged on the opposing side, how they can get out of jail is they would have to be able to sprint 30 or perform either sprinting, jogging, or running for 30 feet correctly, and then they would be able to get out of jail. So that is another extension that I am adding to the game.